Kevin Clausen, back with another episode of From Pasture to Deer Protection. In the last episode, we added all the food plots. Today, we're going to tie it all together and do the extras, the stuff the deer that don't exactly need, but just makes your property a little bit better. So, we're going to cover water, where we're putting our trail cameras, mock scrapes, and some kill plots. It's pretty simple. As we all know from the past videos, this property was pretty open, and we're closing it up and adding some more opportunity to it. So we're going to add some kill plots for some archery opportunity. They probably won't be, this is where I'm going to put them most likely. I don't know, it's not going to be for 5-10 years down the road, just because it's going to take that long for the property to develop to what we want it to be. So our kill plots mostly going to be clover, maybe some brassicas. We'll see how it goes. But so fall brassicas don't really grow good in our soil type. It usually gets too dry, and I just can't get them to germinate in the fall. So unless we get good rains, and I'm not going to count on that. So we're going to go with mainly clover for our kill plots, and we're going to start adding them in now. And like I said, we moved all the deer to be bedding in these areas. Hopefully in 5-10 years, that's where they're bedding. We took away all these lines of sight with these tree rows. So the deer really have a harder time seeing. So we're going to add a kill plot that leads out to every one of the destination food sources across the property. So there's going to be one here. There's going to be one here. And we got to put them in spots where we can access. Access is the hardest part. If we can't get there without deer knowing we're there, then they're no good. Kill plots are the hardest plots to hunt just because they're the hardest to get into. They're usually on the interior where you're closer to your deer beds. So you got to really be careful with kill plots. And we're going to put one here and one here. And you may ask me, why am I not putting one leading to this food plot? We could put one down here in this area, just kind of as a natural funneling to this food plot. This one's just really hard to get into, and I'd have to really be careful because of the wind. So, and I don't want to have to walk down this tree row and try to access there, because my wind is either blowing into that way. It's blowing in somewhere where the deer are going to smell me on my property, and I don't want the deer to smell me on my property. I want to know where the deer are bedding, and I want to use that to my advantage, and I don't want that to ever spook them. So if I'm walking to this and say we got a southwest wind, the deer they're going to know I'm there. I mean, say we have a straight north wind, and I come there because the deer are supposed to be in there. I just don't trust all my scent to stay in those tree rows and blow right out that south end of the property. So that's why we're not putting anything in the middle. We're using the outside edges of these, and we'll see how it develops later on. There might be a way to do it, but for right now, I think these 4 kill plots are going to be our way to go, especially for archery. So it should be the deer. We might be able to put one here, but we can get into these with the wind blowing. We have wind directions that we can get into them. We got to screen our way in. So we're going to have to put either switchgrass or something around these food plots so we can get in and out of them without the deer knowing that we're there. So wind blowing anywhere out of the north or the east, we should be able to get into this one. Walking down these tree rows, getting into these food plots. Same with this one, anything out of the east. We should be able to sneak into this one. We're also going to screen all these food plots, just to take some more line of sight away. We want the deer to have to come into them to see what's there. So we want the deer to feel safe in them, but we want the deer to have to come into them. And we don't want them to be able to stand up in the bedding area, be like, oh, there's other deer out there, now it's safe to go out. We want them to have to come look. We want them to have a routine and not rely on other deer's routine. So a lot of times, we've all seen it, where a buck will come to the edge of the food plot, he'll look it over, you can see him either back in the timber or back somewhere else, or back in the timber or back off on a little knob, looking down into a food plot, and if there's nothing else there, he just moves on. We want them to have to come check it out. We want them to have to come mark more territory. The less lines of sight they are, the more territory they have to mark, the more ground they have to cover. So, we're going to screen all these food plots from the bedding areas so that the deer can't just see them from the bedding areas. It also gives us cover to get into stands if we want to set up some ground blinds or do some different things and make some adjustments to our hunting strategy. That'll give us cover for that situation. So we got all our food plots screened now to anywhere the deer should be coming from and being able to see from. We got these kill plots that we can get into. So anything on a west wind, I can get into this one free of charge, blow our scent onto the neighbors. No harm, no foul, no matter, as long as we play the wind right. Alright, so we've added 4 kill plots to open up some archery opportunity. Probably be ground blinds. The trees just aren't tall enough. Maybe box stands or whatever, but for archery opportunity, that's gonna be our best bet. Now we're gonna add water. So this property really lacks water. It's up on a ridge. It's dry most of the year. So we're gonna add water next to every food plot. So we're gonna add some water in the corner here. We're gonna add water, drinking trough. I also want places I can get to easy, fill them up if I have to. If we don't get enough rain to keep them full, I want to be able to get to them. And so we tuck these watering holes kind of in the corners of food plots where I can get to them without spooking deer, fill them up, and keep the deer happy. There are also spots that are close enough to these box stands that I can, if they're using them good, I can actually hunt them over those water holes. This is where we're also going to add mock scrapes. I mean, we got to keep an inventory on our deer, and we really want to know what's out there, what's going on. So we're going to add our mock scrapes in similar locations that are safe for us to hunt and safe for us to put our trail cameras. I don't want to put trail cameras in the bedding area, intrude on their bedding area, have to go check them, change batteries, all that stuff. We got them on the outsides. Whatever's in the property, we'll figure it out eventually by just on these 4 trail cameras. Eventually we will add more. We might put some on these kill plots just to get for patterning purposes, but you should always put your trail cameras in places you can get to without spooking deer. A lot of people, hey, let's go put a trail camera over a bedding area or next to a bedding area and stuff. Deer can handle people being in their food plots, and doing your work because they know they're just okay with it. But that's kind of, they know that's a joint space. If you come into this bedding area and hang a trail camera in it, that's the deer's space. They're gonna know you're there. They're not gonna like it, and that might be the one thing that spooks away a deer that you really want to kill in the fall. So be careful where you hang your trail cameras. Don't infringe on their space. Let them come to you. That's why we're gonna leave these bedding areas alone and not mess with them. The deer will tell us where to be and what they can tolerate and what they can't tolerate. And security is the main thing, especially in heavy hunted areas like this one. It's security. So, we added water holes, we added trail cameras, and mock scrapes. That's really going to tie this property together. I also get a really good deal on some apple trees in the spring, just because my brother owns a greenhouse, and I can usually get the leftovers apple trees from the end of the year pretty cheap. So I'm going to add some I'm going to add a couple little orchards to the property. Nothing spectacular, but just another little drop. But I'm going to do it the same way I did the food plots. If I'm putting one here, I got to have one in all four corners, because I want the deer to use the whole thing, and I don't want one draw at any particular time of the year. We want the deer to use the whole property the whole year. So we're going to add an orchard right here, a few apple trees here, a few apple trees here, and a few apple trees here. I'm not saying this is going to be, some major draw or anything like that, but I don't want the apples to be falling in this spot and then all the deer to migrate over to this side of the property, or vice versa. We want the deer to pick their favorite spots, then we want them to stay spread out just because they need space. If you congregate deer, they just don't like it over time. So that's how we're going to deal with not congregating them, is the same food types all across the property. That's really going to tie our property together and separate us from our neighbors, is basically the security that we're going to offer and the way we're going to hunt it. Our neighbors to the south, they drive four-wheelers they got deer stands here and here, and they drive four-wheelers into them every morning. That spooks the deer every day. Every day the deer get spooked. And they only visit their property to plant food. They plant a few food plots, and that's it. And it's to each their own. Everybody can do what they want to do and hunt their property their own way. But if you really want to kill mature bucks, you really have to be careful and look at every part of your plan. I mean, from access to what you're planning to how you're getting the deer to utilize your property. If you want to grow mature bucks, it's a 365-day plan. I mean, how you treat your property really goes a long ways. So that's part 4. Stay tuned for part 5. We're going to be outside for part 5, probably working up some food plots and doing that type of thing. So if you're enjoying the series, like, subscribe, follow, share it with your friends. Part 5 is going to be a little more exciting, not just a map on a board, and we'll be outside doing some stuff. So stay tuned, follow along.